Ahoy there, makers! We are back, and we're going to be taking a look at the Inventor 2040W.
Yep.
That's the right name. And also the Automation 2040W as well. So we've got Chris with us, and he's going to be showing us some robot stuff. So do you want to go to the overhead?
Yes.
We can have a look at these. So talk us through what we have here.
Yeah, so this is just a demo of the board. So Inventor 2040. So it's a PQW board. Kind of combines what we've been doing on recent products like Servo and Motor 2040. So you've got servo headers here. You've got two motor outputs with encoders, some general I/O, Quest connectors and I2C breakouts, and a whole bunch of RGBs next to the sensors and servos for giving feedback. And a new thing on this board from what we've been doing is the audio. So this is an actual speaker output rather than a buzzer, which lets you do also the same buzzer things, but you can actually play audio files if you want to do the effort into saying the file formats and what have you for that.
Wow.
So I can show an example here. So this is the speaker with that's come on the shop today as well.
Which has a little adhesive strip there, which if you tear it off, you can use it to very easily mount into your cabinet or chassis or whatever. They sound great, these little speakers, for the size.
Of course, the big thing on this board is that it's battery powered, and you can have the USB and the battery connected at the same time.
Nice. It's playing some audio, just in case you can't hear that. Should we do that again near the microphone?
Oh, yes, yes.
It might be... let's go, hit the button. There you go. Nice. And you say you can actually play WAV files, not just beeps?
Yeah, so it's a PWM output that goes into the amplifier. In this case, we're just giving a square wave, but if you can actually formulate a sine wave and send that, then that can be a pure wave tone or an actual like sound file. I had an example where I had a little robot saying reactor online when it powered up, for instance.
Yeah, it's very kind of straightforward audio filtering circuit. It's similar to what the Pi used to use on its audio jack. But it works pretty well for this kind of thing. So,
yeah, exactly. And the volume's adjustable as well. So that's about like quarter volume. It can get much louder. And of course, if you've got a full battery, like a 5-volt battery or USB, then you can have the volume even higher.
Yeah. Yeah, so these are the same kind of connectors that you've got on the Motor 2040?
Yes, yeah, so they're the exact same ones. So the motors and the MMAtions we recently launched, and the cables associated will work with these.
Yeah, that's with the encoders and...
Yeah. So here's a robot that I made as a test. And if I clear a space, I'll show it working.
Yeah, just made it as a test. Love it. Here we go.
Okay.
Does it go backwards or forwards?
It goes forwards. And then you got to ask which way's forward.
Yeah.
Nice. Look at that. It's almost as if you've measured the distance. Look at that. And then exactly the same spot it started?
Yeah. It's, the wheel's a bit slippy on this surface, which is why it went off a slightly different angle there.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, it's using the coders for feedback to give you like a straight line driving, which is a nice thing.
So how many LEDs have you got on there? There's quite a few.
12. So basically one per GPIO on the right side here, and then one per servo header. Because these servo headers are basically GPIOs as well. The only difference is that they've got V plus next to them rather than 3 volts. So you could, in theory, drive NeoPixels off them or anything else. You just have to be aware that the logic can only support 3.3 volt.
Yeah. And you can attach a breakout garden header there, can you?
Yeah, so you obviously got for I2C, you've got the 2 Quest connectors to go off to the sensors of one. And you've got 2 rows of our 5-pin breakout garden, which either gives you the option to mount 2 sensors, so let's say an accelerometer or like a front-mounted distance sensor, or solder in one of our breakout gardens that we originally had on the shop for Trilobot.
Mm.
It's all that in, and then that lets you quickly swap out different boards.
Front-facing boards.
So specifically front-facing. So kind of imagining this being the robot driving forward.
And on the motor outputs, you've also got direction LED indicators as well, haven't we?
Yes.
So it shows you which direction the motor is being driven at any given time.
You can
see them glowing.
Yeah, see that. Nice.
So that's very useful for debugging. You also have the option to cut them if you don't want. So, so here and here you've got traces you can cut if that's annoying for what you're doing.
Yeah. You're powering this just by a battery pack underneath?
Yeah, so this in this case it's a 3 AAAs, not AAAs. But we've tested, and you could probably do 4 triple or double AAs if they're rechargeables only, because the maximum's like 5.6 volts that you can safely put into it.
Yeah.
Or the little gallium batteries, the little lipos will work fine with this as well.
So that was the example I was doing here. Obviously, the lower end is dependent on what you're driving. So the motors, your lowest you can go to is 2.9 volts on the driver.
Mm-hmm.
The audio can only go down to 2.2 volts. And servos, it depends which servo you're driving, but they can often go to a similar voltage.
So like 2 alkaline cells, 3 rechargeable cells, or 1 lipo cell is about the sweet spot for it.
Exactly.
And this board, like you said, was kind of inspired by this work on Servo 2040 and Motor 2040, which Chris designed and did all the software for previously. And those they're kind of, I guess, more dedicated.
Yeah, so it's
to one task.
If you've either got either of these boards or our Pico Motor shim as well, the software that was written for them can basically be just applied here as well. So if you're familiar with how to interact with those classes, it's the same process.
Yeah,
I think for us, it's when we saw that the Pico W was coming, it felt like there was a space for something that let you experiment with a lot of different types of projects. So having the ability to drive DC motors as well as servos and read analog sensors and have other I/O and audio as well. It's kind of a mixed bag of functionality. It seemed like an obvious choice.
Yeah, I can't wait to review this board because honestly, it's as if you've taken everything that I wanted on all the other boards and put it into one board. It's almost as if that's happened.
I reckon there's not many things you couldn't build with that. Adding with the couple of Quest connectors there as well.
Yeah,
there's a huge amount of potential for projects on this board.
Yeah, I've already got an eye on a robot we can use with that. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be fun, and obviously, if you need to expand, there's these other products, or just stack up with more of these.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's nice being battery powered for this application, so it could be used for. Obviously, robots is the example I'm showing, but you could use it for props or some wearable things that need actuation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that's really nice. I love the GST PH connector on there. Is it for the battery?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, a lot of LiPo batteries have them sort of pre-molded on the end, don't they? So that makes it very easy to be powered by one of those as well.
Yeah, certainly any of the ones that we sell do, and all the battery packs that we sell have that connector on as well. So
yeah. And Andy's asking about the CircuitPython.
Yeah.
It will come. Obviously, waiting for Adafruit to release a version of that for the Pico W, but it will be a case of using the motor and servo classes you're familiar with. Interestingly, audio does work on this, so I tested with like the CircuitPython for regular Pico when we were testing.
Yeah.
And playing WAV files is pretty easy from CircuitPython.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll make it easy from
yes.
our libraries at some point.
Yeah, we will make it easy. Yeah. We just we've only got the beeps and chirps at the moment in our libraries.
Yeah. You say that we do sell those speakers on the store?
Yeah, so that was put on the store today along with everything else.
Yeah. Show the connector on the end there.
It's actually
it's the same speaker we use in 32 plate, right?
Yes, but and also the Pirate Audio.
The speaker Pirate Audio board, yeah. It's because it's got the adhesive. It's just such an easy product to mount. Because a lot of speakers you need, screws in all 4 corners, whatever. Whereas that just works so much nicer.
Nice, fantastic,
cool.
And do you want to move on to the Automation 2040W as well? Fantastic.
this is the other thing we've launched today. Yeah, let's get it on the overhead. Do you want to explain some bits about this, John?
I have got the spec sheet up because this was designed by G, who is on holiday at the moment, so he's not actually here to be on stream. But basically, it's a very similar feature set to our existing Automation Hat and Automation Hat Mini. As soon as, again, the Pico W was announced, it made sense to bring our kind of automation line to Pico because now you've got connectivity. We have been playing around with it, and I think we had some early designs of a version of this board with the RP2040 on board and an Ethernet connector and PHY and chipset and what have you, which we may still do because it's a slightly different use case having the wired Ethernet. But obviously the Pico W was a much easier proposition to get up and running because we can just put that directly on the board and benefit from the wireless functionality. So a few changes from the Automation Hat is that this is tolerant up to 40 volts, whereas the Automation products were 24 volt max. And the indicator LEDs on the old Hat were wired up to an LED driver. So basically you'd read, or the software would read the state of something and then update the LEDs. Whereas on here we've wired them directly to the actual inputs. So that means if the software crashes, you can still see the state of the system.
Nice.
Or you know, if for whatever reason you don't want to, well, you don't have to explicitly monitor those values and then output them back to the LEDs. You actually see the state of the system. There's no ambiguity. The only caveat to that is the ADC channels are obviously read by the Pico, and then those are output from the Pico rather than directly connected
but that's
to the input.
abstracted in the library. So when you do the reading, like the read ADC function, it will just update that. So long as you're updating reading regularly, then the LED will reflect what's actually being measured.
Yes. And the other thing we changed is that the powered outputs on here are actually sourcing, whereas on the Automation Hat they were syncing outputs, and I think that confused a lot of people and less convenient for certain things anyway. So on here we actually have output drivers that actually provide sourcing outputs for those 3 pins, which I think are they max out at about 2 amps per output or something.
I think if you're just doing a static output, it may be good for 4, but if you're doing any medium frequency toggling, then it is 2.
Okay.
So what are the white bars? What is that? Your right?
Yeah,
that was the idea. So basically, if you see those 2 white bars to the left of them, you've got 1 switch and 1 LED each. So the idea here is that if you had user functions, like you wanted some special test mode on your system, or you want to override or something like that, you can literally write a label, stick a label on there. The LED can be used as an indicator for if the system wants to tell you something, and the button can allow the user to actuate that functionality. And up in the top right hand corner, we've also got a connectivity status LED and a power status LED to say that the system's up and running.
Yeah, the power LED is specifically for when the main power is present. So if you just plug the Pico in by USB, the board will get power, but obviously there's no main power output available.
No.
So the 2 relay or the 3 relays down the bottom as well, which they've got LEDs indicating which way they're flipped and how they connect to the outputs.
And there's a couple of Quest connectors down there as well, so you can attach other sensors to your system.
Yeah.
So if it was monitoring something like a terrarium or something, you could potentially have a thermocouple add-on and like run the thermocouple into the tank so that the system can respond to the temperature that's reading, turn a fan on or whatever.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, and we've also we've put mounting holes for DIN rail adapters, which I don't know when we're going to get.
They'll be coming soon. We do have some. They're going to come onto the store. So you can basically screw 2 DIN rail mounts directly onto the Automation 2040 and mount it on DIN rail. So
that's for a more professional kind of usage.
It is, and we do sell like DIN rail mounts, power supplies on the store. So you can buy like a short section of DIN rail, mount it to your garage wall, and have the professionally mounted power supplies, the automation boards, and various other products alongside that. So. Yeah,
and 2 Quest connectors again, which is nice.
Yeah, we were just talking about that because it's ideal for something like you would, dealing with like a terrarium or something. You could have a thermocouple attached to it, or have other environmental sensors connected that might contribute to the system that's running on there. And the idea being that the entire system is built into the board. The MCU is on there because of the Pico W being built into the product. So you build your entire system on there. It could be in MicroPython, it could be in C++. that sits there and basically monitors the inputs and then drives the outputs however is appropriate. And because it's wireless, it can also report to you, or it can log data up into the cloud.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to build with it, really.
Yeah. It's fantastic. And I think this is one of the ones where Wi-Fi really does add an extra value to this, because automation, you want that kind of connectivity to something else. So,
Or to be able to look at the state of something remotely.
Yes.
So, or even to download, information, react to information that's only available online. So, it's a very cool.
I mean, one thing we were talking about is the link to the Enviro range.
Yeah.
Having this be the triggering for actions based on what your sensors are monitoring, like opening a window, perhaps.
Yeah. So if you had the indoor air quality monitor running and it was detecting a high level of VOCs, it could, in theory, report to the automation 2040W to tell it to turn the fan on, or the extraction, or open the window, whatever makes sense.
I've got a question there from Dawson about, are you going to make a plasma W?
We have definitely talked about it. I think almost inevitably, yes, because it makes more sense than our current plasma in a lot of contexts. There's nothing directly in the works, but I know it's on our list.
It's a long list.
There's a long list.
Fantastic.
And that applies also to something else. Hub, Interstate 75, the one that drives the panels. This guy. In fact, you can see it running in the background, this grid of squares. We'll almost certainly do a wireless version of that as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I don't think so. I think we're good with that one.
Great. Okay, so let's see if there's any other questions from the audience. No, I think we're good. Okay, so we're back at 2 o'clock for the Galactic Unicorn, the majestic Galactic Unicorn.
Big boy.
Fantastic. And Dawson says he's just ordered the W Great Smooth website.
Excellent.
A lot of customers say that they've already seen the delivery shipping notice from the store.
I think the first unit shipped out, was flagged as fulfilled about 17 minutes after we put them on sale. So the team's working pretty quick down there, and they've got plenty to deal with today.
And Andy says the unicorn hat was the first pie hat he ever ordered.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Yeah, I've got the.
Well, come back for the Galactic Unicorn, because it's a bit bigger.
It's a bit bigger. Fantastic. Right. Well, we'll catch you all at 2 o'clock for the Galactic Unicorn. So, bye for now.